Entrepreneurs on born that brew. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow!
Welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me and our guests, and this way we can get this incredible content out to more people. Today, we have another in-person episode. Super excited to have this guest, someone I've known for over 3 years. We got connected online, which we were kind of just talking about, social proof and content and personal branding, all that good stuff, and then started doing business together. He's been a client of ours over at Hite. He's got to see really my journey unfold. I think when we first started talking, I was doing all this stuff by myself, and it's crazy to see where things have came over the last 3 years. But I've got to seen him evolve over time as well, and really get to know him better and watch from a distance. Love what he's doing. We see eye to eye on a lot of things, including personal branding, social media, self-development, business, and life in general. It's tough to find those people locally as well, especially in today's environment. So I'm very blessed to know this guy and have him here today. He's already accomplished some incredible things in his journey, but to be honest, I don't even think you're scratching the surface on your potential. You're just getting started, man. And so I'm super excited to continue to watch that. So today's guest is Tanner Dallas. He is a serial entrepreneur and small business owner. Tanner, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's something we could talk about today is kind of when we both climaxed in our journey meeting each other.
Yeah.
And where we're at today. Because that is true. I mean, we kind of both started early on, and I remember meeting you at Breadco and off Telegraph, and that was when you were first getting started. Yeah. And that's when you were creating the SE, the websites, the Autoglass company. It was before you had the Autoglass company. Yeah. It was you were just deferring out the leads. And so I think that's it's cool though, because the way you just put it in your words, it's exactly how it's been. Yeah. Is not only we met at that time, but just kind of where our careers and paths are going now and compounding over time by just doing the right things. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's I think people, and I've said this on the podcast before, but people underestimate what they can do in greater than a year, but overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. I look back to that first year when you and I first met each other, and I'm like, crap, I want to be doing so many bigger things. And it wasn't happening quick enough, fast enough, strong enough. And then years 2 to 3, it was crap, I kind of wanted to slow down because it was compounding.
Isn't it weird like that?
Yeah.
I'm noticing that now just in my professional life, and not only with the stores, because, we've got the Crooked Feathers locations, we got Two Bros Pizza Co., we've got Zero Guilds On, and then professionally, I was saying, I can't say too much on it, but theoretically just work in the retirement space and compounding interest. That's as vague as I can put it. Mm-hmm. But seeing your journey too, that's also what inspired me to get more active on social media. Oh yeah. And there's a few different people, and we were just talking about, most people don't want to put themselves out there, but they don't realize that the amount of times I've heard it, and I know you've heard it too, is just we may only see 500 views on a video, or some may get 5,000 or 50,000. Yeah. But some people will just come to me and be like, man, I saw this video, and I'm thinking are we allowed to use foul language on this?
Oh yeah.
I was thinking people are holy fuck, I did not think that you actually, this, in our head, it's 250 views, 500 views.
We're pissed.
But we're pissed. But then there's people, I was on a call with somebody last night, and he's like, man, I saw this video, and I was like, dude, I appreciate you saying that, because literally it didn't have that many views. Yeah. And not that it matters about the views, because we believe in consistency. We believe in putting out value, and as much as we create value, we hope to reciprocate that backwards to us or forwards. Yep. And it always shocks me when there's those people out there that do see it, and it does matter. And we get to this point where we keep building up. And I think that's the problem. For people like us, not in a bad way, but it's we keep building up, and we have these new expectations. So Ed Milet always talks about it, but it's the temperature in the room. Yeah. And for me, it's the same way too, professionally, or even for you, the revenue you're doing every month, it's you get to a standard of this new revenue, and people around you may say, wow, man, that's amazing. But that's your new standard. Yeah. And do you struggle with that sometimes, where it's just you feel like you're doing well, and you know you're doing well, and you're putting up numbers, but you're still being just as hard on yourself as when you were doing 90% less. Exactly. Does that happen to you?
Oh yeah, yeah. So one of my mentors, Mike Claudio, he talks about, we couldn't imagine even this time last year where we're at. Yeah. And what we have right now, we literally used to pray and wish for. And be man, if I could just get here. Well, the problem is because we're entrepreneurs, because we're visionaries, we're all those things, we're always looking to get to that next level. that's like now like the floor.
How do you temper that though? Like, how does he talk about tempering that? Because that's something I'm sure you struggle with too. But
yeah,
we have families. We're personal life people. Like, we care about our personal life, and we
Yeah.
also care about creating the most. Well, I was almost going to say the most excellent service, but creating the best service for our clientele.
Mhm.
Because just like your business,
Yeah.
people have good things to say,
Oh, yeah.
and they spread the word. But how do you go about tempering that for yourself?
I think like I struggle with this still today, and I struggled with it a lot more, the last couple of years. But I think for me, and I actually made a post about like morning routines this morning of just like comparing what I'm doing to what other people are doing. So a lot of that discomfort, I think, comes from us being like, well, hey, we're doing really good. It's a lot better than where we were, but so-and-so is still doing here. And like, even though I don't like to compare myself to people and what they're doing, I'm still a competitive ass person. So I think part of that comes from like understanding and recentering that like, hey, I'm on my own journey. I need to set my own scoreboard. I need to have my own definition of success. And shit, this is a lot better than what I was doing last year. I need to like get grateful for what I have.
Yes, I like that. Get grateful. That's a good phrase. That's true though, because that's how I feel as well. And even in my professional career, everybody's about numbers. And like you may see another marketing company and you see their numbers, or for example, if you're in an organization, like you see other franchisees, their numbers, and you're towards the top and it feels good, but then you forget where I started.
Yeah.
And not only where I started, but also people would kill to be where I'm at now.
Exactly.
And I think that's something we all universally struggle with. It's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's what makes us really good at what we do.
Yeah.
Because constantly we're thinking we're the underdogs. And like, I always take that approach. In my head, it's like, I work like an underdog, but then sometimes it's like, I got to snap my mind out of it and remind myself like, hey, I'm not in the darkness anymore. Like I have seen the light. Like we are in the light.
Yep.
I'm in a great spot, but find a way to merge that. Because it's almost like I get the fear inside sometimes where it's like, I don't want this to end.
Oh yeah.
And it's not that I don't want it to end. Well, I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
But I still keep working like I was before I had it.
Yeah.
And I know what it feels like to lose it.
Yeah.
Because when we went through that hard time with our stores and we had to close the location in the middle, and that was the biggest ego hit of all.
Mm-hmm.
And we rebuilt back to profitability again.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever chicken wings tripled in price, this was back in 2022, late 2021, we had 3 locations. I was super over levered. And long story short, we started burning red for about 5 to 6 months after we were burning. I mean, we were green for 4 years, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 just really sucked. So that was like the first 6 months of 2022, we were burning, I mean, realistically like 5 to 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
After we were doing like 15, 20,000 in profit a month. But our core product, which was 44% of our revenue, went from $55 a case to $160 a case.
Yeah.
And we did not have the experience necessary to make the adjustments that people that have been in the restaurant business a long time had experience to do.
Yeah.
It was kind of like we were shooting from the hip. And I got really lucky early on. And I think there was hard work involved with it, but when you're in a great economy and things are going really well, there is luck involved.
Oh, yes.
There's so much money in the ecosystem that people are spending.
Yeah.
And I compare our business to, it was a large ship that had some holes in it. When the climate kind of dried up and consumer spending started to dry up and things got a little bit tighter and all that money was pumped in and all these other businesses were open up, the landscape got more competitive.
Yeah.
So what happened to us as a volume-based business with low margins, we competed on volume and pricing. Well, we didn't have the large contracts that Jim or Papa John's or Domino's, the guaranteed locked-in pricing for 6 months, 9 months. So for us as a smaller business, our products doubled, tripled in price, and mostly our core products like chicken wings. So our margins were flipped upside down overnight.
Yeah.
We went through a period of 6 months, burning red, decided like we cannot do this anymore. We have too much overhead. We have an area director. We have general managers, assistant managers. We've got so much on top that the hardest 6 months was going from May of last year to late last year and just slashing, getting rid of a location in the middle, finding somebody to buy it out, getting rid of the debt from that location. And we did it.
Yeah.
We did it, but it was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. It was brutal. It was very stressful. But that's what made us a lot better at business because we realized we needed to compete more. And when I started doing the videos of local businesses, I'd do the videos and I'd see what really cool concepts we're doing. and you see the things that catch your attention, the things that draw you in,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that, and you ask yourself the question, would I feel the same if I did that for my own location?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was unequivocally no.
Yeah.
So that's where Two Bros Pizza Co. was like, okay, let's rebrand our Crooked Feathers location in St. Charles. Let's make it more of a niche concept.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make the product better. Let's start with doing our own dough. Like, let's not compete on volume anymore.
Yep.
And as a byproduct, let's compete on experience, and then the volume will come.
Oh yeah.
And that's essentially what's been happening.
Yeah.
So it's been a long road, but I think those are the things that make us better.
Oh,
like
yeah.
when shit gets fucked up, like that's when we get better.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've experienced that yet in like your growth journey, but it's like, man, like I've seen the fountain dry up,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a brutal feeling.
Yeah.
Because I had that 2020. I remember when I bought the 2020 Model S, it was the performance version, and it was like 97,000, and that was in 2020. And I'd been making really good money for 3 years, and I was like, fuck yeah, man, like I made it.
Yeah.
And then a year and a half later, I ended up selling it to get the equity out of it because I was burning red, and I was like, I need to just sell all the shit I have
Yeah.
to cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Because personally, like on my house, like I was in a good position where I don't have any debt on my home,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of that, I had a lot of business debt.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we were consolidating that location, I was like, I need fucking capital,
Yeah.
and I don't want to go loan out more money because
Yeah.
you know how hard money is. Hard
Oh,
money's
yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
and interest rates started rising, so it wasn't as easy to go through a bank
Mm-hmm.
and get money in 2022. So
Mm-hmm.
I just find it interesting. But long story short, when you get back up on top and you understand the skills necessary to get there,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what made me better.
Oh yeah.
Whereas before I was a little bit more of luck, and digital marketing was like, we crushed that.
Yeah.
And as you know, like the Facebook landscape has changed a lot in 3 years.
Oh yeah.
And it got a lot more
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
And either way, man, it's good now because now we're competing on experience. We're competing on service versus
Yeah.
dump a bunch of money into marketing,
Mm-hmm.
give a coupon rate price, subpar product,
Yeah.
deliver it, and then just keep winning customers through marketing. And it just,
It's a vicious cycle.
yeah. And that's kind of like what led us here now today was, you know, being here with you
Yeah.
and kind of the journey of things.
Yeah.
Just like
That's
even for
awesome.
yourself, you were in medical sales.
Yeah.
And you hated working for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and you started doing digital marketing on the side.
Yep.
And I forgot. I think it started out as Ms. Marketing. Why
Yeah.
is it? Why was that it?
So I went to school in Columbia, Missouri. I played soccer at Columbia College.
I think it still comes through on my my billing as Ms. Marketing.
That's the LLC.
Yeah.
So the LLC still set up that way. So I worked at a company in college, and then my first job out of college was at a company called Ms. Menus. So it was like compete like before Uber Eats and Grubhub were
Yeah.
like big. It was kind of like a localized. So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to create the company, and I'm just going to use Ms. Marketing, and that's where the name came from.
Yeah, dude, I like that. Well, you're with Hite now, and I
Yeah.
mean, strategically, that was a good position for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it allowed me, I think, to like do what I do best, right? So like, I think in so many different aspects of my life where I've struggled is where I've tried to do everything, and I've tried to be everything for everyone and be everything within inside my business. And there's times, right, where you have to do that, but if you try to do that all day long, you're gonna burn yourself.
Do you feel like
out.
it held you back too?
I think I don't necessarily know if it held me back as much as it was like I was never going to reach where I'm at today. So when I say hold me back, like I could have been fine, but it would have been in uncapped. I would have been capped for a very long time doing that, and I wasn't going to be happy because it was like, I mean, even still to this day, it's tough because I am the lead generator for our company in a lot of senses because people know, like, and
But do you
trust
think
me.
that will change, or do you think?
No.
Do you? And okay, that's my next question because I think based on your answer, you will agree with what I'm going to say. And number one, tracing back to the stores and everything, you're exactly right. I did not want to give up control of things. So whenever we spread to 3 locations and tripled our problems, I was a lot of the problem.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because of the fact that like I tried to have total control of everything and micromanage while I was employing people, but then also on the flip side, I didn't understand how to look at interview people or anything like that. I mean,
yeah.
it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and I saw a resume and I'm like, man, you look like you'd be a great fit. And
Yeah,
then,
you
like,
want to work
sound
here?
great.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
like, but long story short, I asked the question of you being the main lead generator. And I think we're in a social landscape now where really I dove into personal branding after seeing yours and a few other people. Kyle's was one of them. Yours was another. And when I saw you guys personal branding, I used to think I wanted to be in the back end of the business and not be in front of people or do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had to realize and overcome was the world is not what it was a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest talent and the biggest skill we can bring to the table is us.
Oh yeah, it's
and
the only differentiator.
we don't have to do all the back end work. We don't have to do that, but we can be the face of it. And not just the face is like, this is Adam's company, but you're the morals, the ethics, the stability behind the business.
Yeah.
And most people say, well, I want a business that runs without me. I'd love to have a large business that runs with me still being engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the goal of I just step away from the business, it just lets it run is like, there's scale to that. But I agree with you because I think personal branding is the biggest thing that's going to strike in the next 5 years because paid media is only going to get more expensive. And then people who are building relationships are going to have the easier overcome in conversations when it's like, how do I acquire you as a client?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same thing for you. Like I saw your stuff online. You built trust with me before I knew you.
Yeah.
You showed me value. And it was a much easier conversation because I felt like I knew you. And I think even in my professional world, business owners too, they think everything I post is about my business.
Yeah.
And people don't care about your business. They care about you.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you feel like that? Like on content creation for professionals? And do you think people are behind the curve right now? Or do you think people are not catching on? Like what is your thoughts on it? And like, how do you see it? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
That it's like, it's way bigger than people realize.
Oh yeah.
But then they're also too afraid to step out and do it. Or they just, because like, you know, when you first made videos, when I first made videos, they fucking sucked.
Oh yeah.
They sucked.
Yeah. Literally 3 years,
like,
3 years ago, as I was looking at my videos and they're not great.
It doesn't get better till you do it over and over and over
again.
But what do you think about that?
Yeah. So like I've been doing it consistently now for 3 years. And I think like when I got started in doing it, it was not really mainstream. Like what people don't realize is regardless if you post content or not, you have a personal brand. People think something about you regardless if they've ever seen a post or if they're just connected with you online. That's typically also considered a personal brand.
So
now,
basically so you're saying, not to cut you off, but if somebody does not do any personal branding, there's still this perception of that person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And almost doing nothing can be counterproductive than doing something at all.
Yes, correct. So like people are looking at you as like, hey, that's just a roofer. That's just like, they don't know who you are. Right. And so in this competitive landscape over the last 3 years, people haven't built out their personal brands because as you mentioned, money was flowing. So like if you were in business and you like were even okay, as we work with a lot of contractors, but like even if you were just like okay, you were still super successful.
Yeah.
And so now people are kind of scrambling like, what's that next lever that I can pull because the demand isn't there. The personal brand is the one thing that I think, as you mentioned, over the next 5 years, that the people that take it super seriously and build those things out, that's what's going to take their business to that next layer. Because it's so, I mean, yes, you can pay people to do different things for you, but it's so cheap to do. It just takes your time, energy, and resources. And when people see, for example, if you own a company and they see you post on your personal page, they can see into everything. And they're so much more likely to do business with you, know, like, and trust you, and then refer you out to your friends and family. I think people have been reluctant to do it if they're capped, right, in terms of a space. So everybody's like, Adam, it's so easy for you to do it because we have 600 clients and our clients are coast to coast and even worldwide. Yes. Did it make a lot more sense for me to do it from the beginning? And is that why I did part of it? Of course. But even if you're a local business owner, the value that you can get and the recognition that you can get in your local community, I mean, that can be a business in and of itself if you just tap into organic social media. And so I think the people that take it seriously really over these next couple of years are going to put themselves at a level in business that not any of their competitors typically are doing at scale. Secondarily, what I also realized is like, as I've been building up my personal brand, I just, you know, I'm getting ready to kind of create like a mastermind and a course.
I was going to ask you, man, what is the next step to put you on the spot to teach other people?
Yeah, because people have been asking me for years and I've always been like pushing it away. Hey, I don't want to do it. No, don't want to do it. Well, I did like a free PDF and had 500 people ask for it and people were really like, no, we want to start paying you. What I realized over the course of this time too is regardless of what happens in my digital marketing company, which is what everybody knows me as, I could go start a new business, or if my company fails, I could go be in any industry and I'd have the authority. Now
Yeah.
I'd have to sell them and get them to know, like, and trust the new product or that, but I'd already have 90% of the equation done. That's where people are missing the boat. It's like, dude, you can go sell random widgets or whatever and people are going to buy it from you.
Dude,
Like-
I just laughing because you get it. And that's the funny part is like, I work with people all the time and they think everybody cares about their business. And like you just said, it is the person. Dude, that's fucking amazing. I just love hearing you say that because it's so true. And the amount of times people just don't get that because like you said, it's you, the person. So like if you go to a different industry, I'm going to remember you, who you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to never be out of sight. You're never out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're always in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not posting the same shit. It's always something new. It's fresh. Could be innovating.
Yeah.
But you could go sell whatever. And I'm still not buying from somebody I don't know. I'm buying from a friend. I'm buying from somebody I trust, I like. And one of the things I always tell people when I work with them is you see all the stuff I post online. You see how much I put myself out there. If you know one thing, you know that I care about my reputation. And not only do I care about my reputation, I care about somebody tarnishing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So with that being said, you could easily attack me online. You could easily do whatever and cause a bad reputation for myself. But take that into consideration when working with me because I'm going to bust my ass and I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect that reputation.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not hiding in a corner where they're like, you know, somebody, Tanner does this or Tanner does that. But we put ourselves out there. So we put ourselves out. And I don't say on a pedestal as if we're better than everybody else, but on a pedestal to where we can be knocked down easy if we do somebody wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
But we're going to put our name behind that and we're morally and ethically going to do what's right and let everything else fall into place.
Yeah.
Because you've always treated me good. Every time we've worked together, where it's something I agreed on, disagreed on, didn't want to continue with the service or not, you didn't push it. You were always there. And I always tell people, I've only been not fired. I quit one job. I say fired because I felt like I was fired. But I was in college and I worked at this facility for all throughout high school and through college. And it was a baseball facility. And I remember, and I've got a good relationship with both of the owners now. But long story short, I mean, I was there and I was really loyal and I wanted to go off and do something on my own. And I will never forget the way I was treated when I left there. And the reason is because they were upset I was leaving. And granted, you know, I'm a 20-year-old kid. Like maybe I could have gone about it a different way. But I mean, you know, I gave my 2 weeks and long story short, there was just that bridge that was burned with me personally when I left. And I carry that to sales too, where it's like, if somebody disagrees with me or if somebody doesn't, you know, I may know, but the last thing you want to tell somebody is that they're stupid and don't know. Nobody wants to hear that.
Like,
and I got treated so poorly that it was like, down the road, I would have gone back because when I went and started a facility myself. And then when I got out of college, I was figuring out what I wanted to do and I didn't want to sign a lease. And I probably would have come back and who knows, I wouldn't be here now today, but I didn't do that because of the way I was treated when I left.
Dude, that's one of the things that I think people miss the boat on. And like in digital marketing, as you know, like there's hundreds of thousands of agencies that are out there and every day, everybody's clients are trying to get poached by somebody else. So we had our largest client we've ever signed. They worked with us for 6 months earlier this year, and we were doing good. Like the results were there. E-commerce brand spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on Facebook and Google and all the crap. And you know, they were like, "Hey, just to let you guys know, we're gonna switch agencies." This was a month ago. We're gonna switch agencies. This other agency in Canada said that like, you guys are doing everything wrong and like all these other things. And like, they can guarantee in the first 2 weeks that things are drastically going to change. Like they're literally putting that in the contract. They're so confident that, and you know, like I was like pissed off and upset because I'm like, man, like you guys have been like a lot, like you're spending a lot of money, but like you guys ask a lot. My team, anytime you guys have a problem, like we're like 6 or 7 people deep, making sure you guys are squared away, responding to you guys way outside of like business hours. So we like, should have probably set better boundaries and directories, but like anything that I touch or my team touches, like we're going to do exactly what you said, go above and beyond. So we have the offboarding call and, you know, they're like, you know, hey, you know, we really like you guys and all this stuff. That's baby clothing. So they ended up sending Murphy some clothes. So I'm like, hey guys, you know, if there's ever anything you need, like I hope and hope for you guys that like I'm wrong and that you guys go and work this agency and they're able to figure out everything under the sun and do all this stuff. Last week, I get a text. Hey, you were right. And I go, Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So I was right. And they're like, yeah. So we switched over to them and all the stuff and like, it's so like, it's ads, right? So it's like some of the stuff takes time, but like they literally guaranteed that in 2 weeks, it would be like 5x what they were getting. It tanked and they're coming back tomorrow to be a client again already. So it's like when like I could have burned that bridge and been like, F you guys, never come back, all those things. But everybody on the way out, I'm like, hey, just so you know, and we have clients come back all of the time. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it sucks that they left, but like sometimes people have to go see what they thought that they didn't have, but realize how good they actually had it and see for themselves in a world of people just full of bullshit.
That's how you win. Those people are your biggest winning clients. Yeah. When they come back, they're your biggest advocates. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where people miss the boat too. It's like they look at something as a sale versus a relationship. Yeah. Like I said, we've done services together. Mm-hmm. And then there was times where we had to lay off the brakes or do whatever, but I've never gone anywhere else. Yeah. And I don't plan to because I was always treated right. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's 100% transparent. And I think that's the biggest thing is I think most business owners are like, oh, whatever, go wherever. And like, I mean, I've been treated that way before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that gives me a bad taste in my mouth. And it's like, fuck you, man. I'm never coming back to you. But you did the exact thing. It's just like firing an employee or not an employee chooses to leave. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They choose to leave. They think the grass is greener. I can't tell you how many times even in our businesses, people have come back and it's always like open arms, like come on back because I think if you honestly believe like you're doing good by people and like you're giving out a good product, it's like go test the water somewhere else. Like I have nothing to worry about.
Go do it.
Like go do it.
See what happens.
That's cool that happened though, and I'm sure it's not the first time.
Nah, dude, it happens all the time, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, because like people promise everything, and it's just. And a lot of these, people that we compete with, like we don't have a big sales team, even though we have 600 clients, 100 plus employees.
Oh my God, it seems like all these other marketing companies, all they do is just call businesses. And I will tell you, we've talked about it before. There are ones out there that will blow up our lines. Yeah. And then find my phone number and send me a message like, hey man, I thought, I just wanted to get together. And it's like, you text me to get together every 6 months. You guys have tried to put me on your program. It's been 4 years. And I keep telling you, leave me alone. Yeah. And it's because it's impersonal and you just want to shark sell me. Mm-hmm. And well, it's like I take what you treat me as and I do not treat other people like that because I know how you make me feel.
Oh yeah. No, like it's a lot of those agencies are like sales organizations that just so happen to do digital marketing, all of those things. So for us, it's like I know pretty much every single client that's ever came through.
Well, you don't dump a bunch of money into your sales team.
No, we don't.
I think that's the difference.
I mean, we get our own organic marketing leads that we do for our clients, and then from there, it's my brand, personal branding, whatever, word of mouth, all those things, and it's just like it's a breath of fresh air. So even when people are like, man, on the way out, if they go, they're like, man, I know I can come back and have a safe place to come back if I go and test this out and it doesn't work.
I like that though. Because you're protecting yourself. But also that's a selling point too. Mm-hmm. Because if that's, from my perspective, if that sales organization, I'm saying the sales organization now, that marketing company, if that marketing company has an elite sales team that is compensated heavily, that money has to come from somewhere. And where does that come from? That comes from the client's pockets versus your route of organic branding and marketing where it's going, if a client comes to you, it's going directly back into your pocket versus going into a sales rep's pocket. And who knows? I mean, like, I don't know what those guys make, but I know a lot of the sales reps make a lot of money and that's why they jack up it. And anytime somebody's working with me on a deal, and this is what rubbed me the wrong way about a certain company, was always coming back with a better deal. And
it's like, why didn't you give me that deal in the first
time? Why didn't you give me the deal the first time? And then a few weeks later, it's end of quarter, like, hey, I can make it even better. And it's just like, why can't you just give me your best deal? And then also, why do you need a 12 to 18 month contract to get me in there if your product's so good? Okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, I understand, but like, it's also like you have an outrageous price. You're trying to cold call me, shark sale me. Yeah. And you want a long-term contract. And I know damn well, whenever people want to do that, I look up these companies. Yeah. And when I look them up and I see things that align with what I'm seeing, I will not work with them. Yeah. I asked another guy this other day, I'm like, dude, how do these companies stay around? And the phrase that he said is basically like, there's so many unknowing business owners and professionals in the water that we work in these industries. So like we look up companies, like we're business owners. So like we're very being millennials, you're a millennial, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Being millennials, like we're very engaged with the internet. So we don't know what we don't know. And I'm always finding out, trying to understand other people's perspectives. But I've come to find that things that blow my mind, like, why would you work with this company? Or like, why wouldn't you look this up? And they're just like, well, I didn't know. I trust them. And I'm like, it blows my mind. But then I realize like, man, people really do think that way.
Yeah.
It's not good or bad. It's just kind of a shame because
It's the way it is.
But isn't that crazy though, that people, they can just, these companies anywhere in the air, like especially digital companies. I mean, those young guys on TikTok that are like in their 20s that like, you know, they're outsourcing everything to like India and they're like, yeah, man, you know, we're going to get you on TikTok and, you know, we just need 4,000 up front and the contract's not guaranteed and all this. And yeah, I remember I used to get hit up all the time. That was last year. I was telling you about that. It is wild.
That's crazy, man.
But so what is the next steps for
man?
Hite Media? I mean,
so yeah, like Hite, we're continuing to grow. Get probably a couple more locations here by the end of the year, and so working on finalizing that.
Locations? What do you mean?
So franchises.
Franchises?
Yeah. So we have 20 something locations right now. Looking to continue to grow and expand that and just keep doing what we're doing. Like right now in any industry, it's really competitive right now from the economy standpoint. So I think we're set up really good for like the next 12 to 18 months. With
so you're noticing that though, consumer spending is dampened.
Oh yeah.
And
anybody that says otherwise is like the only companies that I haven't heard are the ones that are like having massive growth.
Sure.
Are the ones that started at the end of last year.
Yep.
Or they started, the beginning of this year, right? So it's like, okay, there's not a whole lot to compare it to. We're growing, but not nearly at the rate that we were growing the previous 3 years.
Why do business owners lie to themselves and lie to other people? Is it just to protect their own feelings, or
I sometimes don't think that they know they're lying. Like they don't realize what they're saying.
Hopelessly optimistic?
Exactly. Yes.
I find that I've been there too, and that's why it's like I kind of wonder sometimes, like my breaking point was getting past that and being like real about like what I'm actually putting out and what's going on. And I just noticed that, man. That's why I like to ask that question every show I go into is like, do you think consumer spending is dampened? Do you think people are holding tight to their money? Because we see it. I mean, and most people just don't want to say like my business is slower this year.
Yeah, I think getting real with yourself and like understanding what's true and what's not, or what's a feeling. Like a lot of people say, oh, this is happening. It's like, no, it's kind of just a feeling. Like it's not a fact. Yeah. And so people, will do tell themselves whatever they want to hear in order to make themselves feel better.
I think that's the best way to put it. You work with business owners, so you see it.
All the time. Well, man, we're wrapping up this episode, man. This was great. I really appreciate you coming in. This was a good conversation, just off the cuff, going back and forth. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your business, and looking forward to just seeing what the future holds for you, man. So I would love if you could just tell people where they can connect with you online. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put all that stuff in the show notes.
Just anywhere, just Tanner Dallas, TANNER, last name Dallas, like Texas. You'll see like a little check mark or something like we got. It's nice having that though. Like I know some people like, man, I don't need that, but it's like, at least you know like who you're finding,
who's real news. Yeah.
And like I've had problems with my Facebook and whatnot too, and like having that instant access to like somebody to
be able to pop in.
It does help. So yeah, like I'm the only Tanner Dallas with a blue check mark. So
well, cool, man. We'll have that in the show notes, man. Thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely, thank you.
And I want to thank you again to the guests for tuning in to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. I'll see y'all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney.